A single mom was sent to destroy a billionaire, but fell in love instead. Part 2. Welcome back. If you just came from Part 1, you already know the truth Sophie never expected to hear. Let's pick up right where we left off. The world tilted under Sophie's feet. Her hand went slack. The fear that slammed into her wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, sharp, like ice sliding beneath her skin. You knew, she whispered. Zane didn't move toward her. He didn't try to catch her arm or block her path. He simply stood there, calm and unbearably sad, watching her step backward like someone retreating from a truth too large to hold. All this time. Sophie's voice trembled. You were right beside me, working with me, talking to me, and you already knew exactly who I was. She wasn't afraid he would hurt her. She was afraid of how brilliantly, quietly, effortlessly he had seen straight through her. A man like Marcus used force. A man like Zane used perception. That was far more frightening. I didn't realize how far ahead of me you were, she whispered, or how closely you were watching. Zane finally spoke, his tone soft but unflinching. I had to, Sophie. Her stomach twisted at the sound of her real name. She felt stripped bare, not physically, but emotionally, spiritually. It's a lot to process, she said, swallowing hard, trying to steady her breathing. It is, Zane admitted, and I didn't want to tell you like this. So you let me keep lying. She wasn't yelling. She didn't have the strength. You let me stand beside you every day, while you knew. I wanted to see if you'd come to me on your own, Zane said quietly. If you'd ask for help. If you'd trust me. Trust you? The words broke on something raw inside her. Zane, you were the only safe thing in my life. The only. Her breath hitched. And that wasn't even real. It was, he said. The way you laugh. The way you look at me. The way you kissed me. His voice roughened. None of that was a lie. But Sophie was already shaking her head. She couldn't do this. Not when he saw her so clearly. Not when she was this exposed. Not when Christopher's life hung in the balance. Her pulse went wild in her throat. She grabbed her purse, stumbled toward the door. Sophie, I can't. Her voice cracked. I can't stay here. I can't do this. She ran, through the private lounge, into the elevator, out into the freezing night air. She didn't stop until she found a payphone 3 blocks away, hands shaking so hard she nearly dropped the receiver. Marcus answered on the first ring. I found him, Sophie gasped. Aries, it's Zane Adler. He owns the Monarch Club. A beat of silence. Then Marcus's voice slid through the line, cold and satisfied. Good girl. Sophie's stomach dropped. Now, Marcus continued. Here's what you're going to do next. As he outlined the plan, step by step, Sophie felt something inside her begin to die. The abandoned parking garage felt colder than the night outside. Concrete pillars rose like tombstones, shadows stretching long under flickering lights. Marcus stood beside a black sedan waiting for her, the same way he had waited the night he first trapped her. Immaculate suit, polished shoes, the calmness of a man who believed he owned the world. Sophie, he greeted, as if they were discussing a business report and not the wreckage of her life. You found him. I did what you asked. Her voice was steadier than she expected, though her insides felt like windstorm debris. Zane Adler, Aries, his identity, his location, everything. Now let my son go. Marcus smiled. That smile was pure ice. Finding him was step 1. Something inside Sophie snapped. Step 1? You said I only had to identify him. That was the deal. The deal, Marcus said casually, was that you do what I say and your son lives." He lifted a slim gun case from behind him and placed it on the car hood. "I'm saying," Marcus continued, flipping it open, "kill Zane Adler." The world blurred. Sound vanished. Sophie had to grip the side of the car to stay upright. "What?" she whispered. "No, you said information. Just information. And now I need more." Inside the case lay a matte black handgun with a suppressor tucked neatly beside it. "One clean shot?" Marcus said. "Then your debts disappear. Your son gets medical care. You walk away." "I can't kill someone," Sophie choked. "I'm not a murderer." "You will be," Marcus said lightly, "if you want Christopher to see his 8th birthday." "No." Sophie backed away. "You can hire someone else." "I need you to do it," Marcus snapped, stepping closer. "Zane destroyed my empire. He ruined everything I built. He gets to die knowing someone he trusted pulled the trigger." "The word trusted," Sophie whispered. It sliced her open. Marcus's smile widened. That hit a nerve. "You said it was just information," she said again, voice shaking. "Why would you make me?" "Because this is personal." Marcus shoved the gun case at her. "Seduce him again. Sleep beside him. Make him believe you chose him. Then kill him." "I won't do it." "You love him more than your son?" Marcus asked quietly. Sophie stopped breathing. Marcus pulled out his phone and turned the screen toward her. Christopher, her baby, tear-streaked, exhausted, terrified. Sophie lunged, but Marcus jerked the phone out of reach. "Go to the police. You lose him," Marcus said. "Warn Zane. You lose him. Run. You lose him. The only way, repeat, the only way your son lives is if Zane Adler dies." Sophie shook violently. "Please, there has to be another way." "There isn't." Marcus gestured to the gun. 48 hours. Get back into his bed. Make him trust you again. Wait until he's asleep. Then shoot him in the head. Call me when it's done." He held up his phone again and pressed play, this time with sound. "Mommy, I want to go home." Sophie broke. She didn't remember picking up the gun case. She didn't remember Marcus leaving. She didn't remember walking out of the garage. Only the echo of her son's voice followed her all the way home. Sophie didn't sleep. The hours after meeting Marcus stretched into a blur of nausea, shaking hands, and silent screams she couldn't let out. The gun case sat on her kitchen table like a curse, like a heart that didn't beat unless she picked it up. Sometimes she stared at it. Sometimes she couldn't even look at it without wanting to vomit. Marcus sent 3 more videos overnight. 3. Each one crueler than the last, each one calculated to break whatever strength she had left. By dawn, Sophie felt hollowed out, like her soul had been scraped clean. "Save him," she whispered to herself. "Save Christopher, whatever it costs." She spent the day forcing her hands to work, loading the gun, attaching the suppressor, aiming at blank walls. Each time she imagined Zane at the other end, she shook so hard she had to sit down. But Marcus's voice echoed louder. 48 hours? By late afternoon, she felt like she was walking through water, every movement heavy, every breath thin. Then her phone buzzed. A text from Zane. "Please talk to me. Whatever scared you, whatever Marcus has on you, we can fix it together." She froze. The part of her heart that still worked cracked open. Zane wanted to help. Zane cared. Zane had been the one bright thing in the darkest months of her life. But Marcus was watching. Marcus always watched. If she told Zane the truth, if she ran, if she warned him, Christopher would die. Her fingers moved on their own as she typed. "I'm sorry I ran. Can we talk? I want to explain everything." She stared at the message a long time before sending it. Seconds later, another text from Zane. course. Come to the penthouse tomorrow night. I'll make dinner. We'll figure this out. Sophie set her phone down and covered her face with her hands. God, she whispered. Help me. But no help came. Only the ticking of the clock. The next evening, Sophie dressed slowly, mechanically. Her reflection looked like a ghost. Dark circles under haunted eyes. A trembling mouth she tried to steady with lipstick. A body that somehow moved, even though her spirit was collapsing. She slipped the gun into her purse. Its weight felt like a death sentence. I'm sorry, baby, she whispered to Christopher's photo. Mommy's going to save you. Even if the cost was unforgivable. Zane's penthouse door opened before she even knocked twice. He looked relieved, worried, gentle. Hey, he said softly. I'm really glad you came. His warmth nearly broke her. The place smelled like garlic and simmering wine. He had actually cooked for her, a quiet kindness that felt like a knife twisting slowly into her ribcage. I almost didn't, Sophie whispered. I know. Zane stepped back to let her in. But whatever Marcus has on you, whatever he's threatening, we can fix it. She wanted to collapse into him and confess everything. She wanted him to hold her and tell her it would be okay. She wanted, but wanting was a luxury she couldn't afford. If you're still here, you're amazing. Let's keep going. Things are about to get intense. They sat down to dinner. Zane spoke gently, explaining the security measures he'd already put in place, how he'd hired investigators to track Marcus, how he had started compiling evidence. Sophie forced herself to eat, though every bite felt like swallowing glass shards. I can protect you, Zane said, taking her hand. Both of you. Your son, your mother. Marcus won't touch any of you once I bring him down. Her phone buzzed. Marcus. Even without looking, she felt the threat crawling under her skin. Zane. Her voice shook. I don't want to talk about Marcus anymore. He looked at her with quiet concern. What do you want, Sophie? Her answer came out as a whisper. You. She stood and moved around the table, and Zane rose to meet her halfway. Their kiss wasn't desperate like before. It was deeper, graver, a goodbye she couldn't speak out loud. Are you sure? He murmured. Sophie nodded, even though nothing had ever hurt more. Later, in his bedroom, Zane lay asleep beside her. Steady breathing, peaceful expression, one arm resting across her waist in unconscious trust. The moment Marcus had engineered. The moment she had dreaded. Sophie slid out from under Zane's arm, heart pounding so hard it hurt. She reached for her purse, hands trembling violently. She attached the suppressor with fingers that barely obeyed her. She sat on the edge of the bed, back to him, gun heavy in her lap. Tears slid silently down her cheeks. I'm sorry, she whispered. Please forgive me. Behind her, the man she cared for breathed softly, utterly unaware that she was seconds away from destroying everything. She lifted the gun with shaking hands, pointed it. Her finger found the trigger. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She didn't have to read it. From Marcus. Pull the trigger now. 10, 9, 8. Sophie's sob caught in her throat. She closed her eyes. She pulled in one shaking breath. And the world shifted behind her. Sophie didn't hear him move. She didn't feel the mattress shift, didn't sense the air change behind her. But she heard his voice. Quiet, steady, unbearably calm. You've been holding that gun for 2 minutes now, Sophie. Her eyes flew open. If you were going to shoot me, Zane continued softly, you would have done it already. Her entire body froze. The gun trembled so violently, she almost dropped it. Marcus, gave me 48 hours, she whispered, staring at the dark window instead of turning around. The deadline is now. I know. Her breath caught. Slowly, mechanically, she turned and found Zane sitting upright, fully awake, eyes open and watching her with heartbreaking sadness. You knew? Her voice strangled itself. You knew I was going to... Yes. Sophie shook her head wildly, tears blurring her vision. Then why didn't you run? Why didn't you fight me? Why didn't you... Because I trust you. His voice remained gentle. You could have shot me any time while I was asleep. But you didn't. I was going to, she sobbed. Zane, I was actually going to... No. He said it with quiet certainty. You don't have it in you, Sophie. Her knees buckled, but the gun kept her upright. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know how hard it's been for me. My son is the only reason I haven't quit. I don't have a choice, Sophie cried. Zane, if I don't do this, if I don't kill you, he'll kill Christopher. He'll kill my son. I can't. Zane's gaze softened, but he stayed perfectly still, perfectly calm. There's always a choice, he said quietly. Not when it's my son's life. Sophie's voice shattered. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Zane's expression tightened with something like grief. That's why I'm not stopping you. Sophie's breath halted. What? If you believe the only way to save Christopher is to pull that trigger, Zane said, his voice calm in a way that terrified her, then do it. I won't fight you. I won't call anyone. I won't even move. Her heart lurched so hard she felt dizzy. Zane. She breathed, as if saying his name could steady the ground beneath her. He gave her a small, steady smile, reassuring, devastating, impossibly gentle for a man she was supposed to kill. Her fingers tightened around the gun, knuckles bloodless. A sudden jolt of pain shot up her arm, and her vision blurred with hot tears. Christopher's face flashed in her mind, his laugh, his fear, the threat looming over him. She would do anything for her son. Anything. But for some reason, she couldn't do this. Zane's hand closed over hers with a warmth that undid her. Slowly, firmly, he guided the barrel downward until it pointed toward the floor. I want to show you something, he murmured. He reached for the phone on the nightstand, swiped across the screen, and turned it toward her. Sophie blinked, and the world stopped. On the screen was Christopher, not crying, not afraid, not trapped in a dark room, sleeping peacefully in a bright, clean facility bed, clutching his worn little dinosaur plushie. What? How? Sophie's voice disintegrated. I found him, Zane said softly. 4 hours ago. She shook her head in disbelief. Marcus said, he showed me. He said Christopher was, he lied. Zane's tone hardened. He's been sending you old footage. No, Sophie whispered, knees buckling. No, he wouldn't. He would. Zane tapped the screen and placed a call on speaker. A woman answered immediately. Mr. Adler? The boy is secure, no injuries. He's been asking for his mother, but he's calm now. Sophie's world tilted. Her breath vanished as if someone had punched it out of her. Her vision swam. Her spine curled forward as if the weight of those words pressed her into the mattress. The gun slipped from her hand, hitting the floor with a dull, distant thud she barely heard. Zane moved instantly. He knelt in front of her, close enough that she could see the concern tightening around his eyes. His hands came to her shoulders, gentle, anchoring, as if he knew she needed something solid to hold on to before she shattered. I've got you, he said softly. She folded toward him, sobs breaking free. her forehead pressed against his chest, her hands gripping his shirt as though it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. "You're safe," he murmured, one hand steadying her back, the other stroking her hair. "He's safe. Your son is safe, Sophie." Her voice broke apart in her throat. "I almost killed you," she cried, the words torn from somewhere deep. "I almost killed you because I thought—" Zane's hand slid to the back of her head, cradling her gently but firmly, guiding her to look at him. "You didn't," he said. "You couldn't. That's not who you are." His thumb swept away a tear trembling on her cheek. "I was going to," she insisted through tears. "I believed him. I believed he had my son. That's why I had to get Christopher out first," Zane whispered. "I couldn't let you keep believing the lie, and I couldn't let you make a choice you'd never recover from." She clung to him, shaking. "Why?" she sobbed. "Why help me after everything I did?" Zane pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. "Because I love you, Sophie." Time stilled. "I know what desperation does to a parent," he murmured. "I know what it feels like to think you have no choices left. I wasn't going to let Marcus use that against you." Sophie pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. "Zane," she breathed. Before she could say more, Zane's phone buzzed. His expression changed instantly, hardening. "What is it?" Sophie whispered. He glanced at the screen. "Marcus just left his location," he said quietly. "He knows Christopher is gone." Sophie's blood froze. "He's coming here," she whispered, dread curling like smoke through her chest. Zane was already standing, every trace of softness evaporating. The man she'd known behind the bar, warm, calm, patient, was still there. But now she saw the steel beneath him, the part of him that built an empire in the shadows, the part Marcus feared. "We need to leave," Sophie whispered, grabbing for her clothes. "Zane, Marcus is furious. He'll kill you. He'll kill both of us." "We're safer here," Zane said, moving to a control panel embedded seamlessly into the wall. This penthouse was designed to withstand an attack. The windows darkened instantly as reinforced steel shutters slid down with a low mechanical hum. "You don't understand what he's capable of," Sophie insisted. Zane pressed another sequence of buttons, triggering the silent lockdown protocols. "I understand exactly what he's capable of." Sophie's breath stilled. She turned to him slowly. "What do you mean?" Zane exhaled, long, steady, as though preparing for a weight he had avoided carrying aloud. 10 years ago," he said, "Marcus Layton ran the largest human trafficking pipeline on the East Coast." Sophie's stomach dropped. "I was the cybersecurity consultant auditing one of his companies," Zane continued. "I found patterns that didn't make sense, financial trails that shouldn't exist, files buried under fake databases." He met her eyes, grief flickering in his gaze. "I found children being moved between states under different names." Sophie covered her mouth, horrified. "What did you do?" she whispered. "What anyone with a conscience would do." Zane's jaw tightened. "I took everything I found to the FBI." "That was you?" Sophie breathed. "You're the one who—" Zane nodded. 14 children were rescued, he said quietly. Marcus lost everything. His empire crumbled. His partners turned on him. And he spent the next 5 years in federal prison swearing he'd find me. Sophie sank onto the edge of the bed, trembling. "That's why you built Ares," she whispered. "Ares was insurance," Zane said, "and a network to protect anyone Marcus or men like him would try to destroy." She looked up at him in raw realization. "You've been running from him for 10 years. "Not running," Zane corrected. preparing. On the security screen, a black sedan turned into the underground parking level. Marcus's car. "Time's up," Zane murmured. Sophie's heart hammered. "Zane, he'll bring men—" "No, he won't," Zane said. "He'll come alone. Marcus prefers control. He won't risk someone else taking credit." "How can you know that?" Zane's eyes darkened. "Because Marcus wants to kill me himself." Sophie felt the air leave her lungs. Zane turned to her, expression softening again for a brief moment, just long enough for her to see how much he cared. "Sophie?" He took her trembling hands. "What's about to happen?" "It isn't on you." Her tears welled up again. "I can't lose you. Not after everything." He lifted her hand and pressed it to his chest. "You won't." She wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to. But Marcus was a storm made of spite and cruelty, and he was coming for the man she loved. Zane placed his phone in her hand. "One more thing," he said. "If anything happens to me, press the red icon. Every recording, every threat Marcus made against you, every crime, everything I've stored for 10 years will hit the FBI, Interpol, and every major news channel within seconds." Sophie stared at the red icon, a nuclear bomb of evidence. "Zane, for Christopher," he said gently. "For every child Marcus hurt, and for you." Her throat closed around a sob. The private elevator dinged. Zane stepped in front of her, shielding her. The elevator doors slid open, and Marcus stepped out, alone, smiling, the smile of a man who believed the entire room belonged to him. "Well," Marcus said, his voice echoing through the room, "if it isn't the ghost who ruined my life." Zane didn't move, didn't flinch. "Marcus," he greeted calmly. Sophie gripped the phone behind her back, thumb hovering over the red icon. "Oh, don't bother with that," Marcus said, wagging a finger as he stepped forward. "You press anything, and a very different package gets sent instead." Sophie stiffened. Marcus lifted his phone. "This one goes to some very dangerous people," he said. "People who would love to know the current address of Zane Adler's mother, his sister, her children." Zane's jaw tightened, the first visible crack in his composure. "You're bluffing?" Sophie said. Marcus's smile sharpened. "Am I?" He held the phone higher. "One text from me, and they all vanish." Silence slammed over the room. Marcus stepped closer. "So here's the game," he said smoothly. "Zane comes with me quietly, faces everything he escaped, pays for what he did, and the people he loves stay safe." Sophie shook her head. "He'll kill you once you leave this building." "Probably," Zane said quietly. "No," Sophie whispered. Zane reached back, squeezed her hand once. "Sophie," he murmured. "Sometimes the only way to stop running is to let the storm hit." "Don't do this," Sophie begged. "Please, don't you dare do this." Zane turned to her, and she saw the truth in his eyes. He'd already decided. Marcus spread his arms, inviting him. "Come along now, Ares. Let's finish what we started." Zane took a slow breath. "All right," he said. "Just let her go." Sophie's stomach twisted violently. No, I'm not leaving you." "You have to," Zane said, voice trembling for the first time. "Take Christopher and disappear. Live the life you deserve." Marcus smirked. How touching. Zane stepped forward. Marcus stepped back, smug and certain he'd won. Zane lifted one hand behind his back and gave Sophie a signal with his fingers. A countdown. 5, 4, 3. Sophie understood instantly. "Trust me. One last time." She forced her tears to fall, turning toward the elevator dramatically. "I can't watch this," she said, voice breaking. Marcus smirked, savoring his victory. Wise choice. 2, 1. Sophie spun, pressed the red icon, and the world detonated around them. The instant Sophie pressed the red icon, the penthouse transformed. Zane moved first, diving low, rolling across the polished marble and sliding behind the kitchen island that sat just a few feet from the private elevator entrance. The island provided cover, protection, and sightlines. Marcus jerked back, startled. What? Crash. The reinforced window shutters exploded inward as tactical ropes dropped from above. Black-clad operatives descended straight into the open living room, boots thudding across the same floor Marcus stood on. At the same time, ding! The elevator doors behind Marcus slid open. FBI agents surged straight into the penthouse's open-plan living space. Weapons drawn, voices sharp and echoing. FBI, hands where we can see them, now. Get on the ground. Nobody move. Marcus whipped around, stunned. He was boxed in, agents from the elevator at his back, tactical teams from the windows at his front. You, he snarled at Zane, who rose slowly from behind the kitchen island, calm and composed. You disabled my system? 20 minutes ago. Zane replied evenly. You're not the only one who spent years preparing. Marcus spun toward his phone. Not to call anyone, but to trigger the dead man's switch. A sniper round blasted through a shutter panel. The bullet struck Marcus's phone cleanly, sending it skidding across the marble. Marcus froze. No. FBI agents lunged, swarming him in the center of the open living space, not 2 feet from the elevator he arrived in. They forced him to the floor. Cold metal cuffs snapped around his wrists. You think this is over? Marcus roared, thrashing. You think you've beaten me? I have allies, powerful people, you'll all pay. Zane stepped out from behind the island, washing back into the light. You won't hurt anyone else again. Marcus writhed, spitting curses, face twisted with hatred. You cost me everything. No, Zane said quietly. You destroyed yourself. Agent Chen pressed a knee into Marcus's back. That's enough. Her voice was steel. She turned to Sophie, her expression softening instantly. Miss Hale, she said gently. Your son is safe. He's downstairs. He's been asking for you. Sophie turned and found Zane across the open penthouse floor. He stood still, eyes locked on her, his face shadowed with the weight of the last decade. Sophie walked toward him slowly, the noise of agents arresting Marcus fading into nothing. She touched Zane's face with trembling fingers. Sophie, he murmured. Go. He needs you. You're coming too, she whispered. Soon, Zane said. I need to debrief with the agents, but I'll meet you downstairs. She searched his face, needing to be sure. Zane brushed his thumb across her cheek. I promise. Sophie nodded and walked toward the elevator, toward her son. For the first time in months, her steps were light. The nightmare was ending. And for the first time ever, she believed she might survive it. 6 months later, autumn sunlight spilled across the park in warm, golden stripes. The kind that made the world feel softer, kinder, almost new. Children shrieked with laughter near the monkey bars. Leaves drifted down from tall oak trees, collecting in piles that little feet kicked apart with joy. Sophie stood behind a playground swing, gently pushing Christopher higher each time he pumped his legs. Higher, Mommy. She laughed, a real laugh this time, not the brittle, anxious sound she used to make when she was pretending everything was fine. You're already touching the sky, she teased. Christopher grinned, his cheeks flushed pink, his curls bouncing in the wind. His color was better now. Stronger, brighter. He looked like a child who finally had air to breathe. 6 months of safety had changed everything. The court trial had been brutal. Cameras, testimonies, Marcus's vile history dragged into the light. Sophie had taken the stand with her hands shaking, but her voice steady. Marcus was now serving life without parole, no plea deals, no early release, no shadows left for him to crawl back through. Her therapist called it a permanent end. Sophie called it freedom. Thought you could use this. She turned. Zane stood a few feet away, holding 2 coffee cups and wearing that soft, quiet smile that always warmed something deep inside her. He looked different too. Lighter around the eyes, less haunted, like a man who had finally stopped running. Sophie accepted the cup. You spoil me. That's the plan, he said lightly. They stood together for a moment, watching the swing tilt back and forth in the afternoon sun. How's he doing today? Zane asked. Good, Sophie said. Really good. The doctors think he'll be strong enough for full sports by spring. She paused, heart swelling. He keeps surprising me. Zane's smile softened. He's strong, just like his mom. Sophie felt heat rise in her cheeks. She glanced at him, then back at Christopher, her heart settling into a peaceful rhythm she wasn't used to. He asked about you yesterday, she said. Said he wants to know if you'll come to his birthday party. Zane raised an eyebrow. Did he now? He did. Sophie tried not to smile too wide. I told him I'd ask you. Well. Zane stepped closer, brushing his fingers softly against hers. I'd be honored to come. Christopher saw him and waved excitedly. Zane, look at me. I'm looking, buddy, Zane called back, smiling wide. Christopher leapt off the swing midair and tumbled into the mulch, laughing uncontrollably. Sophie gasped. Christopher, are you— I'm okay, he yelled, already scrambling to his feet. Zane, come push me on the monkey bars. Zane looked at Sophie for permission. She nodded. Go on, he adores you. As Zane jogged toward Christopher, the little boy grabbed his hand without hesitation, tugging him toward the metal bars. Their laughter mixed, small and bright, deep and warm, carried by the wind. Sophie watched them, her heart full and aching all at once. She'd walked through hell. She'd faced terror. She'd nearly lost everything. But today, she had peace. She had her son. She had hope. And she had a man who had protected her when she couldn't protect herself, who had seen her darkest moments and didn't turn away. A man who chose her even when she was breaking. Sophie sat on the park bench, sipping her warm coffee, the air cool and sweet around her. Christopher laughed as Zane lifted him up to the highest bar. Zane looked back at her, eyes warm, soft, certain, and smiled like she was the brightest thing in the world. Sophie smiled back. After everything they had survived, she finally felt free, and for the first time in a very long time, Sophie believed she deserved a future. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the full story, let me know your rating in the comments, and tell me which moment stayed with you the most. I'll see you in the next one.